Welcome to another edition of the Tesla Roadster podcast, sponsored by the Gruber companies. Today's topics: stolen Roadster update.
We also have an update today on the Chinese Roadsters.
And here's one: power steering for a Tesla Roadster.
What is a bleed test?
I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. We're going to have these and other stories this morning on the Tesla Roadster podcast. Good morning.
So what we've done, we had the EV podcast just prior to this, so we have a few questions we just want to clean up here before we get into the Tesla Roadster topic. So bear with us for just a moment here. From YouTube, George Borelli, he says, I have a 22 Model 3 Performance. The tire noise is excessive on old asphalt. I've been trying to reduce the noise. How much contribution do you think tire style, pressure, and shocks might have? I'm looking forward to the next evolution of battery technologies. You know, the only input I have there is the Continental tires with the foam on the inside.
Right.
Those are reportedly quieter than your traditional tires. And there's a whole science behind tire tech. And I'm not going to pretend the Gruber Motor Company is up to speed on all of that. But it would seem that some questions like this to the tire either manufacturers or some of the tire stores at times, that might be a great place to get some additional info.
It really might, because the tire noise, being that it is the only noise in many cases that you hear from an electric vehicle, that's one of the reasons why it seems to be excessive. You're used to hearing either the growl or the whine of your engine, depending on how big it is, as you're going faster, and that kind of drowns out the tire noise.
And when you're driving a Lamborghini, you have a symphony of sounds.
That's right.
So Instagram, the Philly Juicer says, love the lives. What are your thoughts on Lucid stock? Price is low, prediction is down.
I think that Lucid stock has a chance of going back up. I'm going to start out by saying I hold Lucid stock, and I'm not a professional, so these are just my opinions, not advice. But at the same, with that said, if Lucid announces the Gravity SUV like they're expected to do within the next week or two, and they manage to make earnings that match or beat Wall Street expectations, I think their stock is going to go way up very quickly.
Mm-hmm. It has the potential to do that. For those of you that might recall, earlier this year, there was some fake news. And for a brief time, Lucid stock ran up to $17, $18 in one day. They ended up having to halt trading at least 3 times, I think, that day.
Mm-hmm.
So it has there's pent-up demand, I guess, is what I'm saying. So it'll just take a little bit of news to trigger something again, and there will be an eruption, just like that Mount Vesuvius in Europe.
Yes. The Philly Juicer on Instagram says, also, I've been very upset with Tesla Vision. Not using the ultrasonic sensors, I feel my car has gotten worse.
Interesting feedback, yes.
I'm not going to comment too much on that. I just say that I don't run cruise control on my Tesla Model S as much as I do on my Volvo.
TikTok, from Legend Lake Girl. Thank you for joining us. She says, my son is a Tesla engineer. Proud mama here. Well, we're all proud of anybody that works for Tesla.
Absolutely.
They are changing the world. Instagram, FNE_mobile. Greetings from Germany. Well, guten Morgen, or good, I suppose it would be afternoon there.
Yeah, afternoon or evening.
Guten Abend.
On Instagram, pattycakes.jpg is asking, where else do you guys stream? The Instagram doesn't see our background pictures, and they just see kind of the raw footage. We're on 8 different platforms, right, Jesse? Of which Instagram is just one of them. I know
streams. Yep.
Our main stream is, we like to call it our main stream anyway. We are on YouTube under the Gruber Morning Show. And we're also on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not sure what all of those.
Anywhere you, any social media platform. So you can get us. We have 2 Twitter or X accounts. We have LinkedIn. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, 2 YouTube channels. Basically, anywhere other than Instagram, you're going to see the background and the images.
So getting right into our Tesla Roadster podcast here, if you guys could throw up an image, it is the TS70 wall charger. And the reason I'm throwing this up is we get a fair amount of interest in people wanting their chargers repaired. And we do a variety of repairs. This is the largest one, actually, that came with a Tesla Roadster. There we go. This is the proprietary Tesla Roadster plug on the end of that. It's a highly reliable device made by Clipper Creek. It has an 80 amp input. It can charge up to 70 amps on a Tesla Roadster, and it's virtually bulletproof. But there are times when these go defective. One of the things that you might be, or a tech tip for you, that large cable that comes out of the main wall mount box there isn't a great strain relief process inside that box. And you can open that, by the way. There are 2 screws on the left-hand side there, and I think they're security screws, so you'll have to use a special tool. Harbor Freight has them. But once you open that, it's hinged, and that door opens up. There's a violet wire inside, which is the pilot signal wire. And at times, by pulling on that cord, if the strain relief isn't working well, you can actually disconnect that little violet pilot signal wire, and that will kill that charger. It will not charge at that point. So that's one of the first things that you could look at. And, bear in mind that when you open that up, you have live voltages inside, and it's going to be 240 volts if you're in a residential setting. So be very careful. Make sure that you turn off the circuit breaker before you try to plug that pilot signal wire back in. But beyond that, some of the other repairs that we do, the plug at times has issues, or the contactor inside, and or there's even a circuit board inside that from time to time will have components that fail. You can ship this box to us, and we will repair it, and you can put it back up on your wall and use it as your wall charger for your Roadster.
A couple questions for you on that charger, Pete. As I'm thinking, I realize we're Roadster centric here. If I had a non-Roadster vehicle that I wanted to use that charger with, because goodness, it can charge at 70 amps, is that possible?
No. The simple reason is that proprietary Tesla plug on the end. There is no adapter made. Now, Henry Sharp, of course, makes the opposite of that,
right?
Which is the portion that plugs into your Tesla Roadster and then allows either J1772 or the NACS plug to go in, other than supercharging.
Yes.
But the other side of that, no, nothing that I'm aware of, at least, unless you folks out here have some inside information on that. We'd love to hear from you. I am unaware of any kind of an adapter, but it's a cool concept. What you can do, however, and we've done this, if you get a NACS cable, the 25-foot cable that comes with the level 2 chargers, you can wire that into this wall charger. In fact, in our old service center, we actually had both cables inside one, or that was coming out of one of these boxes.
Sure. And
you were able to charge one or the other, but not both at the same time.
Well, I think this bodes well for the reliability of some of these wall chargers as well. Clipper Creek is one of the more well-known charger manufacturers out in the world today. They make a lot of the ChargePoint and Blink and Electrify America and et cetera type chargers. And these are chargers that are, going up to 15 years old, and they're still running strong in many cases.
Mm-hmm. And the other chargers, by the way, that used to come with a Tesla Roadster are the MC240, which is that thick black cable, and it plugs into a dryer plug, basically. Those are more difficult to repair unless it's on the AC connector side or on the Tesla Roadster plug side. The actual housing, which looks like it's molded part of the cable, is not easily taken apart, so that's not quite as repairable. And then you have your yellow charge cable, which is the traditional 120-volt cable that used to come with all Tesla Roadsters. Those are also easily repaired, both the proprietary Tesla plug and the 120-volt GFI plug, stands for ground fault interrupter plug. And those have to be changed every 5 years. They have a circuit board inside, and people typically don't plug that into a dedicated circuit. So if they're sharing that with some additional circuits in the home, then you get a lower voltage condition, and that circuit board just doesn't like it. Those are readily available. We have them on our e-store. You can change them yourself, and we recommend replacing those every 5 years. If that doesn't do it, ship it to us, and we'll get that yellow charge cable working again for you.
Now, what kind of background picture do we have here, Pete?
Oh, this is okay. Artificial intelligence. The prompt on this was give me a very orange Roadster in a showroom, and it did not disappoint. Now, for the purists, if you can find some artificial intelligent fails here, we would like to hear from you. Are the spokes okay? Can you see
No,
that?
they're not okay.
No, they're not.
They're not okay. But one of the things I am impressed with that AI does not usually get right, on the back of the car, there is that roll bar that you
Right.
hook the back of your top to.
Uh-huh.
So that's one of the things that I happen to see that I'm like, huh, wow. And oh no, take that back. I was about to say that the charging port was up where it's supposed to be, but it's not. It's further down on the fender.
But you know, the scoop is kind of interesting too. I like it. It's more of a Lamborghini scoop, you know, triangular.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks a bit more imposing and impressive on this car.
Beautiful car. I love it.
But for those of you curious why we do this, you know, it always renders something interesting and creates some talking points. And what we think is that if Tesla used AI mid-journey, they would probably get some really great design ideas for their next generation vehicles, because AI will get very creative in a heartbeat.
You know, I've used some non-mid-journey generative AI programs to try to make some pictures, and let's just say that the results that I've come up with so far leave me even more impressed with mid-journey than I was to start with.
Very cool. All right. YouTube, Crunchy Grace Hopper says he's got a thumbs up, 1.5 plus from Newport Beach, SoCal. Caught up soon. Press that like button, y'all. By the way, on which do you discuss AI? AI is Wednesday morning. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time will be our AI podcast. And, you know, there is so much change occurring in the world of artificial intelligence. It's hard to prioritize what we're going to talk about each Wednesday.
Yeah, and I will talk about, again, for everybody out here, the time change. Arizona doesn't change time. So we are no longer the same time as California. We are now the same time as Denver.
So we had a customer with a Roadster that didn't use his Henry Sharp Trident connector, or the Can Senior, as Henry calls it, very often. And he said, you know what? I took this over to my neighbor's house, or my friend's house, and I tried to use his Trident charger, because he had some Teslas, and I can't get the Can Senior off of his charge cable. What do I do? I immediately assumed, well, it's a fault within the locking mechanism. And I said, you know what? Henry Sharp is available. Let me have him chime in. And I copied him on that email, and Henry solved the problem. And he said, it's all fixed. Well, I emailed Henry back and I said, well, Henry, come on, tell us, what was it? You know, because we have a knowledge base and we collect this stuff, tidbits of information, tech tips. He says, Pete, he just wasn't pushing the ring. So anyway, that was an easy fix, and I was embarrassed that we didn't figure that out ourselves. But it's kind of like our IT manager. Half the time he asks now, is it plugged in?
Yeah. Yeah. I have learned from a career in IT that you can get between 80 and 90% of your problems fixed if you simply start with the simple stuff.
Right.
Is your power plugged in? Are your cables plugged in? Have you checked your connectors? Have you done a reboot of your system? And this happens to be the truth on cars too, but especially with the Model S's and the Roadsters. These cars are more like computers than cars anymore.
Right. Yep, very much so. So another news item, and I try not to turn these podcasts, you know, into, well, anyway, we lost one of our community members, Sam Carnavacciolo, who actually owned two Roadsters and he has a Model S85 as well. He had a sterling silver Roadster and a black Roadster. And if we can throw up a picture here, guys, we'll give Sam a little tribute here. It's Sam in the images folder. and there he is standing outside a charging station with his sterling silver Roadster. We do not have any details other than a posting that occurred out on the Tesla Roadster Owners group site that people were, wishing the family well. But Sam was a longtime member of the Tesla Roadster community. David Pilo pointed out, he was one of the legends in the group, and he brought his car here to us a few years ago. If we can bring up another picture, guys, picture 11. And you'll see his sterling silver Roadster. One of his Roadsters is actually converted to the Chatamo or the JDMO conversion. And all I had for pictures of his car was the picture on the left. And these are intake pictures. They're not designed to be full pictures. They're usually detailed pictures. And I was disappointed I didn't have the full picture. So what I did was I ran that partial image into Midjourney or into Photoshop using generative fill.
Yes.
Which is an AI function that's inherent now within Photoshop. And I asked it to fill in the portions that were missing. And I was amazed at what it was able to do. That picture on the right is the result. And what it had to work with was the picture on the left. And you have to ask yourself, where did that bush come from? How did it know that that was there?
Wait a minute, that was AI that did the one on the right.
The picture on the right
one
is
That's
AI.
the Photoshop expand feature. Is that what we were talking about?
Exactly. Generative fill. What I did was
That's crazy.
I used the frame tool. First, I did the canvas expansion, and then used the frame tool
Grab
to
it.
identify the white portion. And I said, fill it.
Fill it, yeah.
Just fill. And this is what it rendered. It even improved the color a bit, if you've noticed.
I did.
Anyway, AI, it's here to stay, and it is an amazing tool, and we're just scratching the surface. But anyway, Sam will be sadly missed. And his VINs were, by the way, the sterling silver is 436. In the world of Roadsters, we all identify ourselves by what VIN we have. So sterling silver was VIN 436. The black Roadster was 635. And I'm sure that more details will emerge as time goes by.
I'm sure it will. We have a few questions that have come up. We have Fortune Mokoena 20 who says, "Hey everybody on TikTok, good morning." False Hopes gives us a wave and then says, "AI images will get better and better, by the way."
Yes.
Yes, they will.
Well, they already have, exponentially, actually.
Yeah. Highlander on YouTube is back again and for the Roadster podcast. He says, "Gruber is my AI station."
Well, we are fascinated by it, and we love sharing our experiences with it, and we're actually incorporating it here into our company in a variety of ways.
Yes. PYGKLB is joining us from Oregon again. Says, "Good morning, all. Briefly sunny here." And if it's Oregon, that's probably today's one of the 3 days that's going to be sunny.
One of the 3 days, yeah.
As the Christmas tree trucks race by my house. And then Highlander on YouTube says, "A friend asked me about a Roadster question, and I said, I'm clueless. Just go to Gruber Motors. They have all that information on the website."
Right. And you know what? I don't have the folder of pictures here. I was going to share with you pictures of the Fort Lauderdale stolen Roadster. And it's my fault, guys, or it's my computer's fault. It does this. I'm always dealing with Wi-Fi issues. And sometimes the stuff I save does not get saved. But anyway, the Roadster in Fort Lauderdale, if you remember a couple of months ago, that disappeared, was stolen, was then recovered. The sheriff had it impounded and sent to an impound lot because it was parked illegally. The car was then retrieved by Tesla. It is back there now. And finally, the customer went to look at the car after it went back to Tesla. And here's what he said. He said, stopped by the dealer, Tesla, to look at the car. He said the passenger dash is partially apart. And the picture I'm looking at here is, it looks like the passenger side airbag has been removed. and was kind of hanging there. The driver's side door is ajar and stuck closed. There is a scratch on the headlight cover, and it looks like Tesla has their hands full. So there will be some repairs taking place on this car. But the good news is that it is back at Tesla. What we don't have is an update yet on the condition of the battery. This was an R80 upgrade that was completed and then was stolen. And that made more sense because we initially thought, how would anybody steal a brick Roadster and why?
Yeah, and now Jesse, if you wanted to pull up the picture called "Stolen," you can see what that interior cabin looks like.
Thank you. Yeah. Where did you get that, by the way? Was it
right off of here? I just did a screen grab real quick.
Oh, okay, excellent.
And so this to me says this is definitely not a Tesla employee.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a Tesla employee that went out for a joyride in this case. This was somebody who was looking to steal the car and figure out what they could do with it. It deepens the mystery as to how the car could have ended up just a mile away from the shop, in all truthfulness.
Yeah, it must have been either a short joyride or a long one, and with an attempt to return it and ran out of juice. Who knows? But as details emerge, we will keep you updated on this. And again, this may end up being a success story in that Tesla is taking full responsibility. The customer will be made whole, and at least the car was retrieved without major damage.
Yeah, at least that. So many times that they cars ended up with either major damage or being totaled. On YouTube, Crunch to Grace Hopper says, by the way, YouTube is showing this stream with 1.5K likes versus the usual handful. So, well, Crunch, maybe we're just that much more popular. I don't know.
I see Jesse over there looking right now.
Yeah, we were checking it. We can't see that on our end, so it may be a glitch on your end, Crunch, but
okay.
We'll take it.
Crunch, at one point, our Twitter site, which usually runs just under 2,000 or so, 3,000, maybe something like that, nothing major. One morning we get up and we were at 150,000 subscribers suddenly, and could not figure out what happened. We hadn't released any special content, and we thought, wow, we've finally arrived, right?
Yeah.
People now realize we exist, right? Well, it turns out that it evaporated within 2 weeks. That must have been a failed bot type subscription or something that we didn't subscribe to, but landed on our site. And we could tell because none of the subscribers had any pictures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So continuing here, I had a customer contact us and said, I want to get an OVMS unit, and I don't see them on your website. Well, they are. They're under they're on our e-store, and you have a variety of options. And OVMS, by the way, stands for Open Vehicle Management System. What it essentially does is it restores connectivity to your Roadster that disappeared when the 2G network went dead. And the original 2G connection was really for service only or for Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
So this now gives you a capability that lets you tap into what's going on with your car, and we highly recommend it. For example, this Fort Lauderdale Roadster that was stolen, it would have alerted the owner immediately that it had left its location and that it was traveling somewhere. It will tell you what the charge condition is of the car, and that's real handy. If you're on vacation, you've left your car, with someone for care and keeping,
mm-hmm.
and you're suddenly starting to get alerts that you're at a low charge level. You can immediately dispatch someone there and have them check out what's going on. Trip circuit breaker, does it need to be plugged back in? That sort of thing. Does the reset need to be reset on the yellow charge cable?
Right.
All those things. It is, for the $400 or $500 that this thing costs with programming, it is well worth it. We do have it on the e-store. We have plenty of them in inventory. They're in stock at any point in time. We help with the programming. We help with the tech support. We help with your setting up the cell phone to make it operational. These are all free tech support services that we offer. So we highly recommend it. Purchase one if you don't have one yet. And the installation is also fairly simple.
It's basically for the risk of what you would lose. It's cheap insurance.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So we've got a few questions to go through here. Crunch is asking on YouTube, have you requested Grok? We do need to subscribe to that.
Yeah, I have requested it. Yeah, that's Elon's answer to ChatGPT. He was posting some stuff about it this morning that was pretty funny. I think we could probably talk about it on tomorrow's AI podcast, but we have a request out there for access.
And I guess it ties into Twitter, so it gives additional information. And he also said that it might even have a bit of sarcasm attached. And he says, I wonder where that came from.
Yes, if you have to ask the question, then you don't know the answer.
YouTube, George Borelli says, I just checked the Tesla website. It allows me to reserve a Roadster, but I'll need to give them $50,000 within 10 days. That's a lot for a car with no solid plans for production as of yet. You know, the first batch of investors in this second generation Tesla Roadsters are typically disappointed that they didn't take that $50,000 and put it into Tesla stock back then, because they could have bought 10 of these cars at this point. It's a lot of money to put as a down payment, and yeah, I guess I agree with you. Without a solid, production plan yet in place and a timeline, that's a lot of money to tuck away. Now, I think the $50,000, though, gives you a guarantee for a signature version car or one of the early edition cars, which, of course, will be more collectible than the second versions.
Absolutely. Instagram, Samol Kasawi, and I'm just going to read this one as is.
Good, yeah.
Good live, top live, top live, one best live.
Well, there's a poet. All right. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah.
And then Highlander on YouTube says, go Team Gruber. Thank you, Highlander. We really appreciate it.
All right, so another Tesla Roadster topic, and we get a number of these every month, and we're going to tell you what bleed test errors are.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain failure functions in the Roadster that will pop up intermittently from time to time, and I don't have the numbers in front of me here. They're on a tech tip. I should have brought that with me, but when we ask you for a log file and we identify that you have a rivet problem because it fails bleed test, what that means is in certain Tesla Roadsters, before they were retrofitted, they were using pop rivets on the bonding plates on the sheets that fed the BMB boards that were collecting data from the various bricks in the car. You have 99 bricks.
Mm-hmm.
What it turned out is that this pop rivet connection for this wire going to the BMB board is not reliable over time. The problem with a pop rivet is, those of you familiar with it, you cannot guarantee the clamping force, because that pop rivet may pop when it's weak or when you've got a really strong connection. Well, again, in the world of QC, if you don't see it at the time that it occurs, it may occur much later down the road, and it did with these pop rivets for a number of reasons. There was vibration, there were thermal expansion and contraction issues, and eventually these connections to the BMB boards are misreporting errors in the bricks. And that can actually, in advanced cases, stop your car from charging and stop it from driving. So the fix is the car has to come apart. We have to drop the battery pack, take the sheets out, and then replace the pop rivets. Now, some customers replace all the pop rivets on all 11 sheets. Others will replace only the sheet that is affected. And this late in the game, that's probably more sensible than doing a full sheet pop rivet replacement, because you're going to have to change that battery in 5 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
So the fix for that is, and we have to take it apart, and then the pop rivets come out, and that will clear up the problem. For those of you interested, email us. We'll send you a tech tip, and I think we even have a newsletter on this.
We do have a newsletter on this. I actually was able to pull it up in our newsletters portion of the website. And it talks about how we take a number 6 quarter-inch by 32 thread, basically a little screw like what you use to put together computers.
PC screws.
Yeah,
yes.
they're just PC screws.
With serrated nuts so that it has like a star washer.
And then we torque them down to a consistent torque level and permanently solves the problem.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there are Roadsters still out there that have this problem. At one point, Tesla did become aware that this is a problem. They then retrofitted a number of Roadster battery packs, ESS packs, replaced the rivets, and they actually ultrasonically welded them, unlike what we do, which is use a torquing type method to make sure that we've got a solid connection.
Right.
In order to do ultrasonic welding, you need a $50,000 ultrasonic welder.
Yeah, and that's not something that we currently have right now.
No. Looks like we have another question here. YouTube Highlander, he says, update on the Chinese Roadsters. I haven't been able to track. Sorry, my bad. Well, the current situation is all of them have been dispositioned. The information is out on our website under Roadsters for Sale. So if you want to see additional pictures on each of the Roadsters, all of that is out there now. And what you'll see is the Roadsters pulled out of the sea containers after they were cleaned, and what we found. And there was rodent damage on one of them, pretty heavy compared to the other two. And the other thing was PPF damage. Again, a strong argument for keeping or gauging how long the PPF has been on your car. If you've left it on there too long, it can be very difficult to remove. Or if you've had thermal expansion and contraction issues, like we surmise happened in these sea containers, where during the day they would heat up, then they would cool off at night, that PPF looks cracked. In some places, it's still sticky. We did not try to remove it, because at this point, there are bidders that may want to leave the cars exactly the way they are. But there's a lot of cracking. You'll see that in the pictures. You'll see that the PPF in some places is flaking. We did our best to do some pressure washing to get rid of any loose PPF or flaking on the PPF layer on top. There was like a cellophane layer, basically, cellophane layer. And that we were able to get off on the majority of the places. So currently, there are some final bidders that are looking at these cars, and we think that there will probably be some closure to this within the next week or two.
Yeah, if I remember right, we have at least one case of people going to be traveling here to inspect the cars and actually look at them in person even.
So, yeah, expect some resolution to this, and they'll probably end up in someone's collection here before too long. While we're on that topic, by the way, if we can bring up another picture here, and it is GigaBerlin, guys. As you know, our personal preference on these is these cars, we would like to have had them be shared with the public and with the Tesla community. They're very unique. They're barn find Roadsters. They were brand new 13 years ago, and then were tucked away in some sea containers in the dark for 13 years. And it's the closest thing we have to a brand new Roadster, completely untouched. This is the GigaBerlin front lobby. And our vote has always been, we would love to see these cars at Tesla in a lobby being enjoyed and shared by Tesla visitors. And the excuse that we got at one point was, well, there's just not enough room in our front lobbies. Well, this is GigaBerlin. You could probably put 3 or 4 semi-trucks in this front lobby.
Probably could, especially considering how small that Model 3, I think that is, it looks in the background. They would have room for 3 Roadsters in there.
But based on what these are selling for, we believe these are going to go to very good homes wherever they end up, and they will be appreciated. So it will be the end of, or some closure for us, having been honored to be involved in this process all along. All right, we've got another picture we can pop up here, guys. I've got to do a better job with pictures. It is the power steering. Oh, wait a minute. It's in a folder, guys. Yep. And in that folder, if you can pop up picture PS-5. So we get customers from time to time that ask us, can you convert my Tesla Roadster to power steering? And we usually say, well, why? Well, this particular source for this product said that he had bought a number of them, and he's going to be sending us a couple for consignment sale. And he said in his case, a couple of girlfriends find it difficult to drive his Tesla Roadster because parallel parking is a bit tough. And I could see in a parallel parking situation,
I guess.
yeah, power steering would definitely make it easier to park the car. So we're going to shortly have a couple of these in stock. And if any of you are interested in having your Roadster converted to power steering, this is what it looks like. This is actually a product that was developed for the Lotus cars, but it happens to fit perfectly into the Tesla Roadster. So we will have some here for you to look at on our e-store. We'll have much better pictures by then as well, because they will be offered on our store soon.
That's very fascinating. That's a cool thing. Growing up, we used to call said everything had power steering, just that some of it was the Armstrong brand of power steering.
Right.
And because power steering that make your arms strong.
All right. All right, we've got another picture here. It's called Mel, guys, if we can pop that one up. And this is one of the Tesla community members that has organized actually a couple of events recently in the last month or so. And the reason they're doing this in Virginia is because they live in Four Seasons. And before too long, everything green that you see here will be covered in white. So this is the time to do some of your Roadster road trips. And he organized, this is Mel C, by the way. He organized this Tesla meetup in Virginia, taking advantage of the warm weather, he said. The one prior to that was in a national park. Just gorgeous backdrops and scenery. This picture popped up on the Tesla Roadster Owners Club site. And if you're interested, they have some additional pictures there that you can see.
That Roadster there in the front is probably my favorite color of Roadster, that twilight blue.
Twilight blue,
and
yeah.
So thank you very much, Mel, for giving us permission to display these pictures.
Yep. Four Seasons, definitely a place to, or a time to drive your car right now. We also have a picture here that we can pop up here. It's called Rear Bumper. And what we try to do is keep you guys up to date on parts that are being sold for the Tesla Roadster. This is one from Chris Rosa in Germany. And he has a brand new original rear bumper for the Roadster 2.0 for sale. And it is located in Europe. So for those of you looking for parts in Europe, this is probably a pretty good deal since these have been out of production for a number of years. A few years ago, we shipped one, a front bumper like this, to Conrad Buck in Germany. And shipping something like this is not for the faint of heart. If you just put it in a cardboard box, you may end up with damage. So putting a crate around this is definitely the safest way to go to avoid any type of damage. But if it sells in Europe, of course, it's going to be a much easier process, especially if they go and pick it up at Chris's location.
Now, the Roadster 2.0 US for sale, it says. So does that mean that this is a 2.0 specifically for a US-made Roadster?
I don't know if there's a difference between the Euro and the US version, unless he's talking about the license plate.
That's what I was wondering, is if that license plate is a little bit narrow for the European standard.
You may be right, yes. Glad you pointed that out.
So, Foster Henderson is with us on YouTube today. Good morning, Foster, and welcome. Glad to have you here. He said of the picture that we had from Chris, he said, that's my Roadster behind the Biff car.
Ah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, and that's right. You went with him on that last trip into the state park as well. Gorgeous pictures, by the way, guys. And we encourage any of you in the Roadster community, if you're doing these types of jaunts, share it with us, not only on the Facebook sites, but email it to us, and we'll bring it on a podcast here. And if there's a backstory, people love that as well.
Yes.
All right. So we've got another item here. The seat issue. There was a question posted on a Facebook site. How do I get the seat out of a Tesla Roadster? And actually, Eric was very helpful from Texas, Houston, Texas. Eric Robertson. He says it's a pain, especially the passenger seat. You know, the reason I know that is we bought an Arctic White Roadster from New York about 3 years ago or so. And the seat, the passenger seat, had been removed because the owner had a Great Dane that liked to ride with him.
Oh, okay.
And his head popped up way too much with the seat. So they took the seat out, and the head still popped up over the top of the Roadster,
my gosh.
but not as severe. Well, anyway, when the Roadster was shipped to us, it was loose. It was left loose. It wasn't bolted back down, and I understood why pretty soon after we tried to bolt it back in. The passenger seat is the most difficult one. And as Eric points out, he says the driver's seat is relatively easy, 4 bolts, accessible by sliding the seat forward and back. The passenger seat doesn't move. The front bolts are very challenging to get to, and the parking brake lever is bolted to it. So you're looking at partially disassembling the center console. He said the service manual, however, is very helpful. And if we can bring up a picture here, it is called the seat removal image. And it's got a long URL. I can't give you any click text here, but at least you can see what's available online from Tesla that shows you how to take the seat out or put it back in. And it was actually originally Gary Fletcher that needed this information, and he was very grateful to have Eric chime in and provide that tech tip and that seat removal link from Tesla. And as everybody pointed out on the site there, it is not simple.
Yeah, it definitely does not look like a simple thing at all to have to do. I still remember us trying to get into one of Mike Maloney's Roadsters, an Arctic White, and we were just trying to do a backup of his VMS at the time. And yeah, this Roadster had been modified with a premium sound system, and it looked beautiful, but the people who had modified it closed off everything.
Well, yes, and there's a lesson there for you. If you're having an audio upgrade done to your Roadster, make sure that your audio installer is aware that there is a VMS module up underneath the passenger floor that needs to be accessible for service. So they're going to need to put that power amp somewhere else, you know, and yeah, most likely in a trunk is a good location as well. But yeah, that was a challenge because we had to disassemble the audio installation in order to get to the VMS to do the work that we needed to do in that case. We've got another image here, guys. It is the, actually the website. What we want to look at is our website, the how-tos. And we lose track of our videos sometimes, folks, on our Gruber Motor Company YouTube channel. We're getting up to 1,000 of them at this point. And in order to find one of them, I went to this portion here, and I realized we've got a number of how-tos here and many more that we need to put out here. And these are things that any Roadster owner would find useful, like that link from Tesla, how to remove a seat. One of the upper left-hand corner ones there is the headlight refinishing or refurbishing, how to do that on a Roadster. And we've got both Roadster and Model S here. So feel free to go out to that link at any point in time if you have suggestions for something that you would like us to work on or that you'd like us to post. We will create a video for that if you find that that's something useful to the Roadster community.
You know, there's a lot of stuff on the Teslas that could be done by your garage mechanic if they only knew how to do some of those things. So these videos are very helpful, and I've seen other mechanic in the ice world. There are a number of different auto shops that have made quite a name for themselves by doing these same types of things. Repair videos. How do you change a power steering pump? How do you do this, do that? And so this is a good service that we're providing.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you all joining us. We have been doing 2 podcasts on Tuesday, and the format will continue to be 10 a.m. We do the general EV podcast. At 11 o'clock, we switch over to the Roadster podcast. And the advantage that you guys have is that we're able to run a bit over if we get a deluge of interest, questions and comments. So join us every Tuesday at 11 o'clock for the Roadster podcast. We'll also be announcing these on the Facebook sites so that you can get an agenda ahead of time and decide whether this was a podcast that you may want to join. And if you missed it, it'll be posted out on our YouTube channel, the Gruber Motors channel.
Take care, everybody. And I know that we have the AI podcast coming tomorrow at 10. The Gruber Power Hour this week coming on Friday. It's I believe it's hosted by Justin Brownlow and Elvis Venter this week, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Claude is in Egypt right now. It's a different hosting team for that podcast. And then Mondays, those of you interested, one of the other Gruber companies, the Communication Products Group, is hosting their podcast 10 a.m. Monday morning. And if nothing else, you'll get to see what else we do here. Gruber Power Services, Gruber Communications, and of course the AI podcast. It's not for the faint of heart, by the way. For those of you that are terrified, hysterical, or afraid of AI, our goal is to attempt to put some sanity back into all this. AI is a good thing. It can be used for the good of mankind. And there is so much information that comes along every week. It's tough prioritizing our topics for this podcast tomorrow. Join us. We look for inputs. We love debate. So feel free.
Take care.
In the meantime, take care. Thank you.